Hi, I'm Andy here today at Brainstorm Comics and Games, and today we're going to continue our series Warcry Top 5. So today we're going to look at the top 5 Chaos Troops choices. If you haven't seen our previous video, I analyzed every character in Warcry and rated them on a scale of 1 to 10 in offense, defense, movement, and value. For troops, value is the best measurement because you want to get the most bang for your buck, or in this case, points cost. And note that my scale is out of 10, but a 5 is average, or even better than average. So a 7 is good and a 10 is very good. Coming in at number 5, the Demons of Tzeentch Brimstone Horrors. Tzeentch is one of the 4 Chaos gods who have invaded the mortal realms to try and best each other in what they call the Great Game. Tzeentch favors cunning and manipulation over brute force, and his horrors reflect this. So all horrors begin as pink horrors, who are mad and giddy with laughter. But when they're slain, they turn into blue horrors, who are whiny and morose. And blue horrors then split into brimstone horrors, who mock their enemies and emit a horrible stench. In Warcry, you can split a wounded pink or blue horror for a double, or take any color in your warband from the beginning. So not only are brimstone horrors a great value in themselves, but splitting blue horrors gives a great way to control objectives. The brimstone horrors have an average damage of 1, an offense of 4 out of 10, defense of 1 out of 10, mobility 3 out of 10, but an overall value of 7 because they come in at a low points cost of only 55 each. All right, number 4, Splintered Fang Serpents. The Splintered Fang are an original Warcry faction who worship the Coiling Ones, demonic snake entities. All captured prisoners are thrown into a snake pit, and if they survive, they are given the opportunity to join the Splintered Fang. These serpents are unusually intelligent and able to communicate with the Serpent Caller Shaman. In Warcry, a Serpent Caller has an ability to give them an extra attack for a triple, but serpents are also very useful by themselves. With a movement of 6, 5 attacks, and an average damage of 4 per action, and all Splintered Fang have the double poison weapon that allows them to count their attack characteristics as higher than the target's toughness characteristic. With 5 attacks, that's just incredible. The serpents have an average damage of 4, an offense of 4 out of 10, a defense of 1 out of 10, and a mobility of 4 out of 10, but an overall value of 7. So at 65 points, they're great to include in any Splintered Fang army. Number 3, Beasts of Chaos Ungor Raider. Ungors are the smallest of the Gorkin, a race of vicious and brutal half-beasts that worship chaos in its purest form. As such, they must be cunning and quick, and they often lead ambushes against unsuspecting enemies. The Ungor Raiders are a great utility piece in Warcry, able to use their fast 5-inch movement to capture objectives and their ranged attacks to take down enemies with volume of fire. The only ability worth using on them is the Brayherd Ambush, which lets them perform a bonus move equal to the value of the double on the first turn, which is good for getting objectives early in the game, or moving the pieces around so that they can have a large volume of fire. The Ungor Raider has an average damage of 1, but a range of 15, which gives him an offense of 5 out of 10, a defense of 1, mobility 4 out of 10, but an overall value of 8 out of 10, for a points cost of 70 per model. Coming in at number 2, there are actually 2 models here, and they have the exact same stats, so they're tied for 2nd place. Scions of the Flame, Initiate with Morningstar, and Slaves to Darkness, Marauder with Barbarian Flail. So since there's 2, I'm not going to go too much into detail about their factions, but they're basically both line troops swinging huge chains with pointy and burny things at the end. If you take either of these factions, a decent strategy is to take as many of them as you can and buff up their attacks with a leader. For the Scions, the Blazing Lord has a triple, Ignited Fervor, that gives anyone in a 6-inch bubble around him an extra attack until the end of the battle round. For Slaves of Darkness, I'd recommend the Exalted Champion, who has a devastating quad Lead the Slaughter that adds up to 3 extra attacks for everyone in a 6-inch bubble around him. What makes these models unique is their 3-inch attack, which allows them to use melee buff abilities but stay out of range for enemies to counterattack. And they also have a decent average damage of 2 per action. Both Initiate with Morningstar and the Chaos Marauder with Barbarian Flail, they have an offense 4 out of 10, 1 out of 10 for defense, mobility is 3 out of 10, but they have an 8 out of 10 value because their points cost is only 55 per model. All right, number 1, and one of my favorites, Skaven Giant Rat. The Skaven are ratmen, instrumental in bringing about the death of the old world. And with the reawakening of Sigmar, they plot endless schemes to return to their former power. The giant rats are mutated creations of clans Molder who breed them in giant pits and sell them to other clans or use them for themselves. At only 35 points, and because there's many cheap models out there on the used market, these are a great filler for a Skaven Warband. Their 8-inch movement makes them able to outrun most opponents, and their average damage of 2 per action, they can take down enemy troops that aren't too tough. The only ability worth using on them is Scurry Away, which gives them a 50-50 chance to get a free disengage for a double. So you can get some damage in and then get away from counterattacks. So the Giant Rat has an average damage of 2, an offense of 2 out of 10, a defense of 0 out of 10, which makes sense because it's only 35 points. The lowest toughness in the game, and with only a toughness of 2 and 4 wounds, but a mobility of 5 out of 10 and a value of a perfect 10 out of 10 because they're so cheap. They're great for grabbing objectives or using as speed bumps to slow down enemy models. All right, well that's it for Warcry Top 5 for today. See you next time, and don't forget to LSC, like, subscribe, and comment below. And also let me know if you want me to do anything in particular next. I have Death and Destruction coming up for troops choices, but anything else we could do, biggest heavy hitters, or any other thing you could think of.